Yo, Ronan, how is it going? Good evening and welcome to Dojo on Art, a podcast for creative minds, pathfinders, and wanderers of the arts. I'm your host, Julio. Dojo, that's me, that's you, that's us. Today, I'm joined by Ruben.
How's it going, man?
Nice to have you here, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Great to be on your show.
I mean, it's always a pleasure having you around. It's been like we always see each other just occasionally. Like we used to be together almost every day back in the old days, like hanging out after school, training a lot of parkour.
Yeah, man.
Kind of missed those times where we could just follow our spirits and just hang out a lot. And times have changed. What has changed for you since then?
Dude, quite a bit. It's been a while. Yeah, a lot of things have changed. I mean, where to start? It's crazy. Life is happening, all around us. And yeah, it's always good to see you. I mean, it's true we don't have that much time together, but it's always a question of whether or not you want to make it happen, right? I mean, you just have to initiate something and then you can actually make it happen and you can get together and things are happening, so let's do it more often.
Yeah, I mean, now we have a format that we can definitely have a good reason to reunite.
Yeah.
Not only because of that, I mean, we've been hanging around the last couple of days, and but I've been so looking forward to actually doing this with you, and looking forward to a lot of other episodes. And I mean, you have quite a background as well, and especially now with your music production, you're like entering like new realms that that's like a side I didn't know so much. I know you for the guy that is always kind of, when he finds an instrument in a corner, he just grabs it and starts like I don't know, playing around with it, and now it's like really grown fond to you, and you're like envisioning something there. So I'll be very interested in hearing about your vision with that, and your progress, and the way you approach your projects and just producing. So yeah, maybe for the people who don't know anything about you yet.
Most of the people.
Yeah.
I need to say.
Just give us a head start, like who are you, and what's been the journey up to now? Yeah.
Who am I? Well, you're coming with the big questions.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am. I wish I knew, It's not that easy trying to figure it out. But I think I could say about myself that I'm a musician. As you said, I produce my music. I'm a rapper.
Baby voll mit Liebe und mit Kollagen. Sie ist auf dem Weg, denn ich sag komm mal leben. Farbe in den Herzen und den Haaren. Komm, wir fahren mit dem Rad durch Italien. Haben keine Angst vor Gefahren, sind immer draußen.
I make songs, I make arrangements and also instrumental music. And, I use instruments, but I also use virtual studio technology. And, playing around with different art formats, more or less.
Yeah.
Trying to experiment. And it's a journey for myself, in which I'm trying to get to know myself more and more. And I think that's the same thing for everybody. But I do my music not professionally. I don't do it for a living at the moment. Let's see where it takes me. But that's more or less what I can say about that. And I mean, I've been playing around with different things, as I said. So it's not only the music aspect, but it's also about some video things that I've been doing, or a little bit with photography too. I make photo art,
right?
Focusing on insects, plants. We can get into that a bit more later, but it's really the musical aspects that are
What are
turning me on.
Your focus lies right now?
Yeah, absolutely, and I've been working towards I've created let's say 20 or 30 songs maybe. Tracks and instrumentals, some of which are not completely finished. I just need to re-record it so that I'm happy with it, because I have really high standards for myself also that I'm setting. And I haven't come out with most of my music just yet. And there are specific reasons for that as well. We can get into that too, because it's kind of interesting also to hear your experience about that. You're also, as an artist, you have your ideas about how do you want to approach this, to really have something, make a product, make an artwork, make a piece, and then release it.
Yeah.
And I think that's always nice to talk about and exchange some ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, nice, man. Thanks for the introduction. So, there's a lot coming up, I guess, in this episode. Now that we got a first introduction, we start with our ritual over here. So with our guests, we like to pour some tea and just raise the glasses in honor of getting together and just having this experience.
That's lovely.
And actually, that tea was a gift from you, right? That's I guess it's a fruit tea?
Yeah, herbal tea. It's a mixture.
All right. So
a blend.
Looking forward to have a sip of that. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, it's nice to have you here. Let's cling on that and let's take a moment and enjoy that tea. Oh, I like that. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Maybe we might need some refill.
A bit more. Yeah, yeah, dude, I'm stoked for you and for the fact that you're now launching this project, this podcast show, more or less, because you're an interesting person. You have a lot to give. I think you can inspire people, and you've been, doing quite a few things.
Yeah.
And so let's see where you will take that.
True. Thank you, man. Yeah. You've mentioned a lot about yourself, and to all the people listening now, we go way back. I don't know. We've known each other for most of our lives. I don't know. Yeah. Let's establish when we first met. How did the relationship actually come to life?
Must have been about 15 years ago.
So we were in school. Oh, we were merged together at some point. That was it. And then you kind of have been around and...
we started, I think we had a good connection over parkour, right? Parkour was basically what brought us together. Man, I was 15 or 16 and then I started doing parkour. I was looking for so many different sports by the time. I've been practicing different things, football, karate, and whatnot. So... I never fell in love with anything except for parkour. When I started freerunning parkour, it really took a hold of me and never,
would you say that you knowing us or seeing us, was that also some sort of spark of inspiration for you?
It was. I think it was one of the reasons also I started. I watched. There's a video of you guys out there. I don't know if it still exists, but it's Fajims, and the classic.
Those are some OG moves.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And you was doing some gnarly shit back in the day already. It was you were 15, 16 years old.
I mean, you went head first into all the moves.
You did some impressive stuff, double foot wall flip and some, stuff that was way ahead of me. And then I started and I wanted to do the same thing. And I kind of admired what you guys were doing by the time. And I was getting head first into the whole thing, into the whole parkour thing. I was watching a ton of videos and it really, inspired me a lot. And then not long time when we started training together, right?
Yeah.
And we became great friends. We had nice, parkour was certainly one of those things that
united us. A drive.
And it's also, when we're talking about art, parkour is certainly one of those things where
the art of movement,
the art of motion, the art of movement. Yeah. And it's a form of expression that we have been utilizing strongly for our own purposes, and we've been sharing a lot of experiences. And I mean, when we talk about creativity, there are so many aspects, right, where expression is important. And it interestingly, it's the same thing if you're talking about movement or sports, or if you're going into music. It has so many similarities that I think extend throughout all the different categories of sports or other kinds of expression, because that's at the end of the day for me what it's all about, self-expression. And it's interestingly, I find a lot of common grounds when it comes to expression through movement and music and art in terms of video making or coming up with ideas for whatever it is.
I mean, for me, it really was also parkour, the first drive, or that first reason to really get into creativity, or like in the industry, and like just getting to know more about it and about the processes and the software, especially back then. And to be honest, I remember watching my cousins editing their first just sketches on Windows Movie Maker. For some reason, I found it so ridiculously funny that I did want to try it myself. And at the same time, I had this rising interest for parkour. For me, actually, it was inspired by this video Urban Ninja, which is,
I know this.
Yeah, which you certainly also know. Yeah. So that was really like the big bang for me. I mean, I've been in touch or like having contact with art or different art forms many times before in my life, since also in my family we have an artist, my mother.
What is she doing exactly? Painting?
Yeah, she's painting like oil paintings and also like on scarves, like painting scarves. And yes, in my opinion, she should commit so much more into that, because it's really also the process of creating art is something like so relieving and like meditative. And for her, that I see her just also struggling to just have a purpose now that her kids are grown up. She's a like full-on mother, and she has so much love to give, and that transition for her was quite hard. She's I think still struggling with it, and I think art could really be for her, and like for a lot of people exactly that way to that you get some mental rest. Actually. Just let go, right? And so she's an artist. So much with all the struggles and all the benefits of it too.
I mean, what you just mentioned, I think makes a lot of sense that art is providing or giving, in fact, a sense of purpose, to people, and it can help. I mean, it can help to express yourself, and I really think that everybody needs a way to express him or herself in a sense that it's a requirement for mental and physical well-being and consistency, and it's so important that you have a way to express yourself. And I mean, self-expressionism, it can have many forms,
right?
But creativity is more or less the motor of it, that really drives it, because you're getting to do something or to create something, and you're changing the world in the process. And I mean, there are two very interesting aspects for me personally about art in general, or about creativity. Is art is highly therapeutic, right? And it's a twofold thing. First of all, it's therapeutic because you can really start to process things that are going on in your life, and they're bothering you, and you have some ballast, some burdens.
I mean, that's the expression part of it. So like really take all that stuff that's on top of your mind and then channel it into that expression, that form of expression.
Yeah, and you have something that is going on that is inside of yourself, and then it's starting to bug you, and you need some way to formulate that, to articulate it, and then you bring it out into the world. And at that very moment, when you start giving it out, you start externalizing this inner process. You're not the only carrier of it anymore, but you give it to the world, and so the world can carry it with you as a consequence. And it doesn't matter if it's just a plain canvas or a piece of paper. At the moment you make it and you give it a shape, you give it a form, it materializes, and you don't have to carry that burden all alone because the world does it with you, even though people don't see it. But then this effect certainly multiplies once people are also participating and they get the chance to see it, they can relate to it, or they are being inspired. And so it's a form of self-medication, you could say, you know? And I think that's highly fascinating. That's the first point. But then the second point, even though you're not having something specific on your mind, something that a trauma that you want to work on, or some kind of political stress that is going on, whatever is bugging you, then it's still, you manage to get into a process of doing something. You start drawing or you start making music, and then it induces a meditative state almost. You mentioned that earlier, meditation, right? The meditative aspect. And you get into that flow state where it feels like you forget about everything else. And so it's these two things really that make it so strong that art is in fact a therapy for almost everybody. And,
True.
I think that's highly interesting. I mean, if I make music, sometimes I completely get lost in it, and hours are passing and I'm absolutely being devoured by it. That's just beautiful.
That's the best, How often do you get into that mental state? Like, is it something you have dialed down? Like you have like a ritual where you know, okay, I take this time to do that and this time to that, and then at some point, like, what is your preparation to get into that state? That eclipse moment for your mind, where you get into the balance and everything you you receiving by the world. Even unconsciously, that all gets extracted in that moment. So that's, for me, that's really the flow state where you're like, it's like you're like in wave with everything around you, but still lonely and lost in that solo wave. So I'll be really interested in hearing your approach to that.
Man, I would say it's highly diverse, the way that I'm getting into it. And it depends on the day. It depends on the state of mind that I'm currently in. It depends on so many different factors, really, that it's hard to pin it down to say, well, it's this or that. But there are certainly some things that are helping me to get into the right state of mind or into the right mood, you know. I think mood is important because, let's say I'm in a very bad mood, you know, because many things in my life are not going the way that I want them to be. And, you know, just a state of confusion or distress or, you know. And then it can help just to get involved in making a song, for example. Just sitting on the piano and I'm trying to figure out something, you know, I'm just playing around in a key that I enjoy, F minor at the moment.
Nice.
And then, it's that state really that sometimes comes up when it's needed the most. I mean, it's when I'm feeling unhappy and stressed out. This can help. It doesn't always mean that I'm motivated. Doesn't always mean that I'm inspired. Sometimes I try and I fail miserably, you know, and I just have to leave it at that. But the mood is a big factor that gets me to the flow state. If I feel very hyped, I'm highly inspired to go. I'm sitting in front of my DAW and I'm starting to experiment. I'm starting to say, yes, I make a song today. Or I'm working on this project. And then I'm getting into it. It's really nice. It works. If I feel great. If I don't feel great, it can be hard, but it can be therapeutic then. But it takes some discipline for me to get into it, in this case, and it's highly dependent on the mood.
So is there anything like you do around you, like maybe, I don't know, have some kind of lighting or something in the background, or like you light up some candles? I don't know. It could be some kind of ritual that kind of helps you to induce that possible flow state.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because for me, honestly, it's really having this kind of red light, and that just, that means so much to me, just seeing it here on the wall, and having this red shimmer on your face. So, it's really, for me, it's that actually, like,
Yeah, that gives the associations that you might need, that triggers creative processes.
I mean, light is obviously also a lot that kind of triggers your senses. And there's a whole science behind colors in particular. So this red color really just gets me into that, I don't know, like really relaxed, calm and cozy mood. And I just feel at home. And I mean, that's a good prerequisite to have that good mood. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that are like culminating during the day, but that's something that I can plan it before. Like I can really hit the button, hit the trigger to do that. Like literally, I can hit that button and light it up.
Yeah.
So because I really ask myself many times how to make it convenient to get into that flow state, because that's what we all want. If you really are in that zone, that's where like you don't even have to really think about it. You're just in that moment, and everything that you learned from all the experiences, like everything comes together, and really just it's the pure expression of.
How does it come about? I mean, it's tough for me to answer because it sometimes just happens, right? Mostly it is based on an inspiration, and I draw inspiration from many different sources.
Yeah.
But when I feel like I have an idea that is working for me and that is going my way, and I can follow it, and I can see that I make some kind of progress within the framework of that idea, then it really sparks interest to go into the next step, and so it can really help to have success in the tiny steps when you're making a song, for example.
Yeah.
So, and I'm starting with a beat, and then I'm starting at a different point always. It can be the drums, or it can be the melody, or it can be the lyrics that I already have.
Yeah.
And when I feel inspired, especially with the lyrics, then sometimes I have already a vision how I want it to be and how I envision it to sound, and that helps to get into the flow state by basically giving me a kind of guideline, because I have something in front, trying to orient myself on.
Get it.
But that's not always the case, and sometimes I'm desperately trying, and I'm trying, and I'm not entering the state.
Yeah.
And then it can help to have breaks.
Yeah.
Or just to let loose and then come back at it the next day.
Oh yeah, that's so important.
You might know this. Sometimes you're trying to solve a problem, which the flow state might be absolutely relevant for. And then you sit there in the evening, and I'm trying to solve this for 3 hours.
Break your head about it.
Yeah. How do I make that bridge happen?
Yeah.
How do I make it work? How do I make it happen? Or this chord progression, it just doesn't fit. How do I make it work? And then cannot solve the problem for the life of me, and then I just go to sleep. The next morning I get up, within 10 fucking minutes it's done. Just like that, It's because I'm trying too hard. So flow state, I think it has a lot to do with letting go. Also understanding when to let go. And to bring an analogy from climbing, which I've been doing. I'm not active anymore, but I've been climbing a lot, and I was at some point we were out there on a rock. It was sandy rock, right? And I was climbing a certain route that I was kind of scared to climb, to be honest. And the guy that I was with, he was way more experienced than I, and he was a killer climber. And he said, "Yeah, just go for it." And then I just started, and it's like, it wasn't top rope climbing, so you're not secured all the time. You have to set your own your own anchor.
So you're basically carrying your rope, and then when the anchor comes, you just plug it.
Exactly, lead climbing it's called, right? And so the first anchor was like 2.5 meters high, and so I had to climb the first section. And then I clipped it. So before that, if you fall, right? There's no people can spot you on the bottom, but it's not really that much. And then I clipped it, and I made, I think, a few more moves, and the route wasn't even that high. It was like 4 meters in total or something, right? But then when I was 1 meter above the X, the next one was just coming in another meter. I couldn't reach it. And I felt like I kind of started panicking, And then the problem is if you fall. I mean, I clipped the anchor, but if you fall, then you fall
quite some drop.
Yeah, you fall the meter that you're above.
Yeah.
The actual exit, and then you fall.
Right below the last anchor, because you
exactly the same amount again, and then there's 30% of
stretch in the rope,
stretching in the rope as well. So I would have landed on the floor for sure. I think it must have been 1.5 meters the first exit, I think, and I must have landed. I would have landed on the floor, and it would have been very bad for me, you know. And so I was hanging in that wall and thinking, damn, I need to make a move.
Yeah,
and my whole body was starting to cramp up, and I was tightly gripping on the rock, and it's a sketchy rock. It's also sandy, and in that moment I had to realize, okay, you need to breathe and you need to let go. Letting go is exactly the opposite of what you're trying to achieve, you know, trying to hold down, but you can only make it if you're letting go mentally. You're starting to breathe, you're starting to lose your muscle, you grip only with the amount of force that you need to employ, and let go of the rest. And then somehow I started doing it, you know, I could really make it happen, and I made the next moves, and it worked, and it was adrenaline. Amazing. The thing is that it really helped me it was a great lesson for me, not only climbing wise, but also the life lesson. I come back to this oftentimes because it's the opposite of what you're trying to achieve, actually. Or your body tells you, no, you have to grip, but then your muscles start fatiguing, and it's over. And it's the same thing with basically everything else. You're trying to make something happen and achieve a certain step. But if you're trying way too hard, you're dialing into it too much, it's not going to work. You just have to let go. And say, okay, let's breathe for a second.
I mean, especially breathing, like really coming back to your just human being. Like if you're overwhelmed by too many thoughts and just fireworks going on in your brain. And I sometimes lie down in bed at the evening and I have just so many ideas floating around. And it's really hard to just shut off my mind. I have started to do this technique. It's just like a breathing technique. You inhale for 4 seconds, and then you hold it for 6 seconds, and then you exhale for 8 seconds, and just keep going, and then you just drift away. And that's really just such an effective technique for me. So really breathing and just realizing that, hey, I'm living. I'm human. I'm here in this moment. Having everything come down to just your breath. So that's a great analogy. I love that one. Maybe I should also just incorporate it a lot more in creative processes.
Yeah.
Nice.
It gets you to the moment, right? Immediately back to where you need to be, instead of like floating in a certain headspace where...
For training so many years parkour, like where you have also have these mental battles, like you know about it, like you've been training for a certain jump or like training for a certain move, and working towards it step by step, and really like grinding your skills so that you know that you're ready, like physically ready, and you got the moves down and you got the skills down, and then when it comes to the moment where you like stand in front of that gap or that jump, then it's again your mind that is playing tricks on you. Like you know it, you're standing there, you're watching like the jump, that obstacle. The creative process is also something like that. Like when you start off, you have a blank canvas. That's like when you're standing on the spot for a jump. And what you really want to achieve is just the expression and just getting something on that canvas. And the jump for me is sort of also an analogy to that. Then really having your mind and your body calm down to make that move and really challenge you get to the next level. Because that's what it was all about all the time. And even with creativity, you always want to like improve yourself and keep learning and get to the next level. And I think with every creation, you're raising the bar for yourself. Obviously, that's at least how I feel about it. Yeah. So Okay, so would you say that movement in particular is a source of inspiration for you, or how do you draw inspiration for your type of art?
Yeah. I mean, movement certainly is a thing that gets me going, right? The system is starting to, you get the blood flowing, and you get, some exposure into fresh air and whatever. Or you can do that at home also. I'm doing micro workouts throughout the day. And it also like helps when you're sitting in front of a PC for hours and hours on end, and then it helps just to get your body loose and all that. But I think most of the inspiration, there are different sources. I would say that one thing for sure are people that are doing the same thing that I'm doing, or nobody does the same thing, right? But that goes in the same direction. So I'm listening to a lot of music from people also that are unconventional, and I'm trying to draw inspiration from that. Also, genres that are not necessarily connected to what I'm doing. So I'm a rapper. I also do some singing, but I started producing lo-fi hip hop at first. And I just have a beautiful tape that is unreleased, but at the moment, by the time this airs, this might be on Spotify already or YouTube also. But my actual genre is not what I can find in classical music, for instance. But I'm still listening to classical music because I think there is a lot to get from that. And also other genres, I'm trying to listen to unconventional stuff, because creativity is nothing that is happening just because you reproduce something. You can always say, I'm making the same thing that people have done 1,000 times before me.
Yeah.
Then you're creating something, but it's not a creative thing.
It's not original.
Yeah, it's not original, because creativity means you're creating something new that is also useful, let's say. So it's not just a creation per se, but it's something you created, and it needs to be useful in some way. Let it just be useful to people that are listening to it, or let it be useful to people that draw inspiration
to yourself.
From it. Yeah, or for yourself. Yeah, but it is by definition something that encompasses something new that you create, at least partially. You can never create something completely novel. You could, but then again, it might not be useful. It might be completely off the charts.
That's also part and an aspect of art. You can totally just do art for the purpose of having pure expression without any...
Most certainly. I'm not denying that. What I'm saying is that art can stand for itself. Yeah, sure. And just the aesthetics might be the reason why I do it. Yeah. But I say that just copying something somebody else has done is not art.
Not purposeful.
It's not necessary. Yeah, it's not creative, really. Yeah. And so it inspires me to listen to different sources and to expose myself to a wide variety, ideally, of different music. And I'm finding crazy artists also in the process of that. I mean, what I found recently is also a classical album.
Okay.
Alexandra Strelitzky, she did a neo-romance. You can check it out, very cool. Especially the last song really resonated with me, but also Alle werden fallen. I discovered that a while ago. Crazy stuff, and I'm always trying to find different things, and also stuff that is not very unconventional. I've been listening to the latest album of Depeche Mode, for example, just to see, and I'm trying to widen my focus. But that is inspiration to me. And then, of course, some things that are going on politically are really making me. Making me aroused.
That are flowing into your lyrics?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially something like that?
Yeah, especially in rap, where I'm trying to express myself through the lyrics and processing things that are going on in my life and that are really bothering me.
beobachtet. Ich hab genug gesehen, ihr solltet in den Spiegel blicken. Manche sollten still sein, manche hinter Schloss und Riegel sitzen. Doch sie blockieren ihr Gewissen mit Consumerism. Pack euch Lappen an und wehrt den Boden.
And I'm criticizing also society in many ways, and it's my way of dealing with it. And I hope that if people get to listen to it, they might also get infected in some sort of way, by these ideas. And this is inspiration. I mean, for example, when my girlfriend and I, we went to a protest movement. I think it was two years ago, to a forest in Germany, the Danny forest. We went there and participated in the protest, and it was really inspiring, and also inspired a song that I made after that. And now I went to the movement of Lützerath, which you might have heard of. And that also, I mean, was a great source of inspiration, just getting active, really seeing that these things are happening in the world, these crazy things are taking place around us, and it makes me want to articulate it and get it into a lyrics and then get it out to the world. And that's the thing. And the nature is highly inspiring. I mean, sometimes I go outside and I see all these beautiful beings. I'm also an insect person, entomologist. I mean, what I do is I'm a biologist still in training. I'm doing my master's degree at the moment. And man, I found so much inspiration and passion in things in the biodiversity.
Obviously,
it's insane. The world we're living in, it's a place of beauty.
Yeah.
And the more I approach that, it certainly puts me in a very interesting place where I'm able to operate creatively and artistically, and where I'm coming out with ideas, and just watching things happening in nature is awe-inspiring. It's astounding. And for example, I'm using also sounds that I'm collecting in nature, and I'm incorporating them in my music.
Yeah,
I've been recording some hummingbird sounds, and
crazy.
Yeah, and insect sounds, and rivers flowing.
That's amazing, man. That's really that's like a signature, something that you could definitely establish. Yeah, I mean, or you're establishing for yourself right now.
I mean, many people do that, right? I mean, that they use specific sounds that they are just recording at home with kitchen devices, and then they make a song out of it.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's nice to have that organic compound.
Yeah.
And also one thing that I did recently when I made my last song just 2 weeks ago, then I used a husk from a tree that I found outside. It's Gleditsia. How is it called? Gleditsia is the tree, and they have these husks that contain seeds, and they make a sound if you shake them. You can utilize them as a shaker.
Okay,
and so I did that. Yeah,
nice.
And I really love that, that there are sounds. I mean, I'm using processed sounds too when I make these beats and my music that are coming from somewhere. And I'm always trying to make it my own by changing things. But taking it from nature, it feels original because nobody else is going to have the same sound. And the design from nature is flawless.
Yeah.
So
okay, so take us through your process. Like when you, let's say, you find that husk and you get inspired by it, and is it really that you see some inspiration in it and you take it home or to your studio, and that's like the first sound that starts the whole process for in creation, or do you take a different approach? Like, do you have first some strings that you play into, record into, or some beats first?
Also highly dependent. Sometimes it's really a sound that is starting everything else.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a melody when I'm playing. As I said, I'm playing around with the piano or on the guitar, and then I'm figuring out something, and I see, oh, all right, that sounds great. And then I'm trying to foster that idea, whatever it might be, and trying to see where it leads me. And sometimes it leads into nothing, and sometimes it's really promising, and I feel like, oh yeah, I can totally imagine to combine that with a synth. And then I'm starting to do that, and I'm recording it directly and I'm going in with an 808 or whatever, and all of a sudden there's a beat happening, and then I start working on that. Many times the initial component is the lyrics, because I have a ton of lyrics that I've been writing for the past few years, and
you build kind of sound around it, around the lyrics then?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I see, okay, this is really a thing that is on my mind at the moment, and then I'm trying to put it into a song or into lyrics, or I'm already having pre-written lyrics that I've done years ago and that all of a sudden become relevant for me. That I see, okay, I could combine this with something that I've been experiencing recently.
Like you have the message and the lyrics straight, like you feel that's the message that I want to express, and then at some other point or stage in life you make that musical creation that just matches to that, and then you remember, oh man, and
that happens.
Okay.
That, certainly, but also sometimes I'm just utilizing different parts of different lines of text from different times of my life, and I'm combining them, and then I say, okay, this is actually something that works, and I'm always writing this, or most of the time when I'm making a song, I'm writing this to a specific BPM. So that way you can ensure that you have enough syllables, enough words in a line, and it's not like, you get in trouble. You know, it needs to fit. So I'm writing this on a BPM, and even without a beat on my mind or without music, I can already, if I'm reading out the text,
just a beat.
If I'm rapping in my head or if I'm singing it, it already makes sense in a specific flow, and so I know, okay, I can do it like that, and then I imagine it's kind of slow, so let's go with
a different
75 BPM, and let's try to make it fit here, maybe change a couple words, and then this kind of melody would fit. It's a deep thing. It's
I mean, it makes total sense to go about with the BPM. Yeah, because that's just like the rhythm.
If I start with the lyrics, then I need to combine it and interlink it with the beats per minute, because it's the only way how you can make it work. I mean, some people might have a different way, but that's how I do it. And then lyrics are starting it, and lyrics are already predetermining how the beat needs to be. Yeah. More or less.
Yeah.
You know, or what kind of mood it's supposed to convey.
Yeah. They also have sort of a rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah, or just the content of it.
Yeah.
Like, what do I want to say? What's the message?
Yeah. Like if there's a strong part, you want also the music to convey that power, for example, or like, okay.
Or I cannot make a happy song.
Yeah.
With like bells and very high, beautiful ukulele chords if it's about the political system that is fucking up our planet, or if it's about, you know, things that are kind of dark. And so it needs to match that. But it can start with a melody. I'm experimenting, and then I see what kind of lyrics that I already wrote at some point might fit, or I'm creating everything. I'm just playing around. Sometimes I'm using my plugins, and I'm just playing around with it, and I see, wow, that's a crazy sound. It's dreamy. It's interesting. You know, it's compelling. And then I play around with it. It's a lot about coincidence too. You know, happy accidents. Bob Ross would say it's a happy accident.
Yes.
And then out of that, there's a beautiful creation sometimes. And
that's like, I love that, because it keeps happening to all of us, I think, all of the time. And if it happens, it's just such a sweet moment. Like sometimes when I'm editing and sort of, I don't know, I have just some layers overlying, and then sometimes you have a transition in mind, but you don't have it like completely planned out, right? And then you just find yourself in that moment, wow, that's actually the perfect transition. And those are those sweet accidents. Yeah, nice. Okay, so now that we've talked about how you approach, like what's your process?
Yeah.
I'd really like to know, what is your motivation in general to start creating?
You mean how do I get myself to actually starting to do something in a day, or you mean in general?
No, like what's the goal maybe that you also pursue?
So long term.
Yeah.
Well, I've been retaining my work, my music for a while because I want to get it in shape. Really, I want to be 100% satisfied with that.
Yeah, I've been talking about perfection earlier.
Let's talk about that after that, right? But I want to make sure that it's good enough and that I'm happy with it. And then I'm strategically also waiting for the right moment to release it in a specific way. But the idea is that I am trying to get people to listen to it, of course. I mean, I'm making art, as I said, for myself. It's a therapeutic thing, and it's expressive.
Yeah.
But it's also to change the world.
Erzählt mir nichts von euren Werten, die verjährt sind, vorgekaut, vorgefertigt, von den Schablonen gepressten, überholten Konzepten, für die es längst zu spät ist. Wir sind dankbar für die Weisheit, doch unterm Kleid ist...
You know, as crazy as that sounds, but I really want to make a change in the world, and even if just 100 people are exposed to it, to a specific piece, or even if you don't release something, as I said, I also believe that the world is being changed in that way. Nobody will listen to the lyrics, of course.
Like in ways of like maybe like sort of spiritually, like energetic, also like.
Yeah, it sounds a bit esoteric maybe.
Yeah.
But it, like whatever you emanate into the world, whatever radiates out of your system is somehow reacting with.
At some point, those have been brainwaves, like also sort of energy in just in your body. So I firmly believe that. Yeah.
And it's a way of giving myself identity too, you know. But of course, I want people to listen. That's my goal.
Yeah.
And I know that I have the potential, I harbor the potential, undoubtedly, to make people listen. And it's just a strategic decision that I need to make. When do I want to release what kind of music? And I'm retaining 3 or a few things and then making, let's say, 3 videos, invest a bit of money, and people will, they will gain attention, or something will gain attention, then people can already see, okay, there's more, or have more prepared, instead of just going and giving out something, and then let's see what happens, but then you're not following it up, or, So I want people to listen, and my aspiration is that it would be nice if my art can finance itself, maybe not completely, maybe just partially, but if it has some monetary
self-sustaining.
I mean that's always great, but I don't need to have it. It doesn't need to pay all my bills, because there are more things that I want to achieve, more things that I want to do. As I said, nature conservation efforts, for example, that I'm also passionate for, and want to make that happen too. So art is not everything, but I have high ambitions. But for you, it might be the same thing, right? You're also trying... No, for you, it's a bit different. You really want to envision...
Like for me, there's also a big aspect of... that's why it's called Dojo. For it to be like sort of a place of education.
Yeah.
Like I really want to create the way of art. Actually, Dojo, it literally means place of the way. So I want it to be the place of the way in the arts, and I want people to really understand it as a place where they can come back to, and at some point I hopefully even have some physical space, like a dojo actually, but just like a transformation of the original meaning from feudal Japan, like back in the days, and transforming the martial art aspect into the visual art aspect, sort of, and really helping people, young, old, of any age actually, like everyone that really feels inspired to get along this way, to have a place where they can grow, like improve like their self-development, their creative skills, obviously, and just for it to be a place of a creative gathering, and across the web, across the virtual space in the future, and also a physical space. So really like branching out into all all the platforms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is really like this big idea that I have of it. Like you know those dojos or like let's call it gyms where people train jujutsu or karate or like other sorts of sports, and it's really a place where there's some sort of discipline also, and self-improvement, and also reflecting with yourself and your mind and getting into like harmony with yourself and with your surroundings. So there's a whole philosophy around dojo, and so yeah, that's like a short summary of that.
Man, it's gonna be crazy.
It's about teaching, like really also bringing something for the next generation to grow with it. And
Do you mean that they get inspiration from what you do, or that you make tutorials also and stuff like that? They can learn directly from that, or what's
I mean,
the
at some
idea?
point, definitely there will be some kind of like tutorials or like a learning platform. But like the ultimate vision really is to have, as I said, physical spaces spread around the world. So let's say we have a dojo, I don't know, Stuttgart, a dojo Madrid, a dojo Barcelona, and have just masters of their trade, like people from that have been in some sort of art, let it be music production or filmmaking or whatever, and they really be sort of the mentors for younger or like people that really want to be part of the culture and of the movement.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Actually.
yeah. So that's the big vision.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. All right. So we have some more points to talk about. So let's bring it back to the points. I had some notes here about your first contact with art and the journey up to this point. Like we've talked a lot about you, obviously, right now. But when did you really hit it off with art? Like do you remember a time where you gave art like credit for being art, like where it really was something that you recognized for art, or for maybe a painting for its artistic purpose, or like was there one certain moment there?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think, yeah, maybe there have been moments, most certainly, but nothing that I would say this has really had an influence that I can remember. But yeah, different exposure to various kinds of art. I think music primarily.
So you couldn't tell when you got to the point where you really chose to go down the road as a musician?
Nah, it's been a dream of mine for a while. I just wanted to make beats in the very beginning. I was also rapping and freestyling, and have been to a few open stages, already by the time, and been performing with people. Did this with bongos in the beginning, and then a friend of mine, she played in front of 100 people or something. Then I went and I joined her with a cajon and things like that. Easy. It started.
Okay.
But then freestyle rap was something that I excelled at, and that I started to feel like there is some motion and some potential into it. And then I began writing lyrics. I mean, even 15 years ago or way back, and then I wanted to make my own music. I'm somebody who I want to make all the things ideally by myself. Want to learn how it's done.
Yeah.
I don't want to delegate too many things to different people, but I try to keep it skillful at my own place. And it's my own effort and endeavor to basically acquire more skills and to make my own things. That's why I'm making my own beats. That's why I'm mixing my own songs, that I'm mastering them by myself. And that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Also to acquire these skills. And
well, that's also kind of a chivalrous like goal, like doing it all by yourself. I mean, that's really something that you can take some credit for, and I think it's really also inspiring. I I can relate to that. I feel the same way when approaching my projects and my creations.
Yeah.
Like when you first mentioned it, I immediately thought about the people that get their beats produced by others, and they have the personality and maybe also the style to rap on it, and so they just basically take over the beats, and they have some personality, obviously, because of just the voice.
Some of them.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe you can tell me like your opinion about that. Like people that use pre-made beats, or like the people that do their shit all along and all by themselves.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's a legitimate thing. I'm not gonna take away anything of people that say I'm just a rapper. I have no clue about music, and I know how to hit on the beat, you know. And that's fine for me. I mean, but that's not my personal aspiration. And the claim to myself is that I want to have more skills, and it gives me control and freedom also, being able to do these things all by myself. And there are many people out there at the moment in the German rap scene, but also internationally, that they're taking beats from people and they're rapping on it, and it's a hit. Yeah. You know, and sometimes those are one-hit wonders, and they're 10 minutes of fame, and then they disappear from the scene, and that's it more or less, because it's just the beat that drives it, or it's that very moment.
It's a dependence. It's a dependence of that moment and of the people that helped you to really release or to like come up with that particular.
Yeah, and I take pride in knowing different areas and harboring different skill sets.
I mean, it's dangerous also. I mean, if your beat maker suddenly just drops you,
but then you can find another. I mean, YouTube is full of tracks more or less that are like beats free for profit.
Yeah, I guess if you are kind of generic with your beats in the first place, then it really doesn't matter who's the next one.
But that's crazy. That's what sells too. You know, that you have this generic approach, and you're following a formulaic approach, really, and
it still works until
it still works. I mean, it's the same thing with pop music, right? That there's a formula people are utilizing. They're riding the horse until it's dead, and then they're just looking out. Oh, there's the next horse, and they jump on that, and they ride it till death. And it's just not my style, you know. But I'm also not one of these old school people. I mean, I come from old school hip hop, but I'm not one of these people saying that, you cannot use this or that. And new school and this is all bullshit. No, I'm trying to get inspired too by incorporating, incorporating different methods and styles and all that. But I think there's less value for me personally if I know I have the potential to do different things, to only rap on a beat and that's it. But of course, there's nothing bad about that. You can surely do it. Just not my style necessarily. And I mean, also if we talk about perfection, something that earlier we've mentioned, and I know that we might be similar in this regard. That also, we're looking at things and we're trying to make it as good as possible. Yeah. But then realizing it's not good enough, then you
hold back.
Yeah. Then you roll it back and. Dude, it's a difficult thing for me, but also, I think the potential that I know that's inside of me that I have, it cannot go to waste. Yeah, you know, and I feel like I can have an impact also if I'm releasing my stuff strategically, then it will gain attention
by giving you the time to really hit that perfection, so to call, or like that level where you feel like confident about, or like you feel satisfied about.
Yeah, and I mean it might change, right? What I'm satisfied with today might not be my state of the art in 2 months, or also the lyrics. I mean, some of the stuff that I've been writing, great stuff, if you ask me. But then nowadays it's just not actual. It's just not what I would release anymore. And so. You need to keep track on that too, and get active. And at some point, I mean, it's some guy said this in an interview recently. I think it was OG Kimo. He's also a rapper from Germany, and he said, no song is ever finished. You just have a release date.
Ooh.
And so you can work on this forever, basically.
Yeah.
You could always change things, but for me, there is a point where I know, okay, I'm satisfied, more or less, with most of the things. And you can always tweak tiny things, but that's not really important. But if I know this is a piece of work that I've been aspiring, and I have a very clear vision how it needs to come out, and if I reach that to a certain percentage, I'm saying, okay, that's fine, that's okay, and then it stands there for the ages.
So that's definitely one way of approaching it. I would say, like, if you reach like a certain percentage of completion, and you just say, okay, that's good enough. Like from this point on, those changes that I do are so minor tweaks that only I will be the person to really just get to feel them or get to realize them, while others might not really feel that slight change or like that extra 5%.
Yeah, maybe. I just want to make sure that I'm listening to something in 2 years' time, and I don't want to have the feeling that, damn, every time I listen to it, damn, I should have changed this. And it's not about did I use this hi-hat or this hi-hat, or did I pronounce it this way or that way. It's not that big of a deal, but it's really it needs to fit the vision that I had when I made the song. It needs to incorporate it and represent it. And then I'm happy, because I have these visions that I consider to be very effective and transporting exactly what I want. And so in the very end, it's important that it matches this criteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally understand. For me, it's really also when I hit that brick wall of perfection, like when I realize, okay, now I'm really at a point where I can put a lot of effort into it, and to me, then the final creation will be something really special, or like exactly what I envisioned. Then sometimes I'm asking myself, is it really necessary to convey the overall message and the feeling? Because for me in filmmaking, it's all about really conveying the emotions and the feeling, and sometimes it's at a good enough level, but sometimes it's also like I have this bigger vision, and I feel like all the minor changes that I want to take are relevant, and they really have a place in the final creation, so that I also feel like they might have an effect on the people seeing and listening or watching to it. So it's really a never-ending battle for some reason. I think you just mentioned it one way, and it makes sense to me. One way, it's like perfection is nothing's perfect, right? You're like, what's perfect? It's like never ending.
And I think perfection is a real thing. I mean, people would say, no, it's an illusion, but I think it's a real thing, but it's temporary, So it's a temporary thing, but it's real, because you can make things, and for the very moment you created something where you would say, yes, this is exactly it. This transport exactly what I wanted, and this is just the sound. And it's a fantastic feeling, right? Okay. It's empowering.
But then a week later, you might feel different about it.
Yeah, maybe not just a week later, but maybe in a month or in a year, you would listen to it back and you would say, okay, well, today this is not exact. I don't identify 100% with it, because you change all the time, right? You're a different person with every single day or week that you're living, and so. Of course, if you have a static piece, you could reinterpret it. You listen to it as another person, and you'd say, I still identify with it. But not every cell of you might identify with it. Or some things might just age not that well that you create. But I believe in perfection, because I've done it several times. I've done things where I say, yes, this is fucking it. I did it.
Yeah.
And then... And
I don't know if maybe it's just the wording.
Some of it is still perfect.
Maybe it's just the wording. I don't know if you could really say that's perfection.
At least for me, for the very moment, for my vision at the very moment, it is exactly what I wanted. And maybe there is a different version of it that might also be perfect, but that's just, I'm completely happy with it. And I'm always trying to achieve that. It's not realistic. I know that, and you need to take a step back.
Yeah. So taking a step back, which sometimes is also just healthy, because really chasing perfection all the time, I mean, that's a hustle.
Destructive.
Yeah. So how would you like to have a formula to deal with perfection? Like, how would you approach taking a step back? What you mentioned before, I like that, like really setting yourself like an imaginable percentage. Like if it's like at 80%, that's good enough for me. And then also you mentioned like having just a deadline. I feel like
deadline helps.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've done just recently with a good friend of mine, he's also a musician, and we set a goal for ourselves, and we said, okay, let's. He came to visit me, and then in 2 weeks' time or something, and then we said, okay, let's agree that we're both gonna finish the project we're working on, or we're making a song and we're presenting it to one another, and so it needs to be finished by that time. And so we did it, and I finished it. And of course, I still want to re-record it, but it's good enough so I can show it to people. Still minor things that I want to tweak, but overall, I did it, and it greatly helps to know that there is an end. You know, it's a finite
to push forward and just
ending.
Yeah. I mean, deadlines are really also a good way to
get in motion, right?
Yes, right. Yeah. And exactly. Yeah, couldn't have put it in different ways.
The same thing, man. Like, I mean, April 2nd, I would have had my exhibition for the photo art that I've been doing with the insects, and it was all set and ready, more or less. But then I got sick, and so I had to postpone it. And now it will happen, hopefully this month.
Nice.
But also something where I just had a date, you know, that I organized. I said, okay, I'm gonna do it this date, and then you got to be ready. And it was stressful, and I could have changed more things, and I wasn't really happy with some of the frames that I organized for, and some of the, and. No, I still need to print. I still need to make the print happen because I've made some decisions. But it's also nice that if you have a base, or if you just have a deadline where it needs to happen, and then you really start getting active. And also, if you're looking for ways to expand your skills, then this is also a great way. I mean, you know, printing photographs, and it's just a complete different story. You just have so many different things are going into it, and then making an exhibition, you have to think, okay, what kind of formats do I want? How do I get the frames? Where do I want to print them? I want to CMYK classic printing, or do I want RGB color space, and all these things? And it's nice it's always a challenge that I love, you know, to have a new set of challenges, and then venture out and make it happen. But tell me about your formula for fighting perfection.
Oof.
Because, man, I couldn't tell you other than really just actively taking a step back, you know, and saying, okay, that's fine. Let's leave the base at that. I'm not touching it anymore. Or let's leave that part at that. I'm not rewriting it. Let's record it and be happy, you know.
I definitely do take steps back. How?
What's your approach?
The project just rests.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a couple of projects sitting on my hard drive that I've started them probably like 2 years ago. That might sound weird, but sometimes even I feel like I need to let it rest, to have some experiences in life that I need to make in order to go back to that point and really creating that piece of art or that vision that I had in mind back then, but I didn't have the experiences or maybe even the skills to do it the way I had envisioned it. So sometimes I feel like my horizon is like too far away from what I'm actually being capable of now.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes projects really rest for a long time, and then I go back at them, and then it's just completely new approach, right? It's like a fresh start for instance.
I can feel it, man. It's sometimes when I feel like I'm hitting a wall in guitar progress, and then not even by because I want it. Just sometimes by coincidence, by accident, I'm just not touching the guitar for 2 weeks, and then at night at 12 or 1. I'm just sometimes, I'm completely tired. I just need to sleep, but I can, and then I just take the guitar, and dude, that's where the magic sometimes is coming out, where where the genius progress moves are starting to happen, and I feel like, damn, why didn't I think about that earlier? And then you get to these creative ideas that before that were blocked completely, and that's a peculiar thing, but very interesting. Just because you take a break, also what brings back creativity.
Right. Yeah. But I have also experienced that going back to it many times, sometimes like really forcing it, sometimes can also work. Like if you're mentally clean or like clear enough to face that battle, like when you have enough energy left for that battle, let's say, then I can keep punching that wall until I break the wall. So I've also experienced that, like really
the stubbornness just to keep going until it works.
Like being disciplined and fierce, like really having this idea of, my vision lies behind that wall, and I just need to break it down. So I've also had these kind of experiences sometimes. Yeah, where it's speaking of the process, where it's really like rewatching that section, and also closing your eyes and tuning into the music and the feeling that it conveys, and then sometimes it's that way how I manage to break that wall. Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. I don't feel like I make it happen that way. For me, it's like if I'm trying too hard, it always closes down and it becomes impenetrable all of a sudden. And then
like I said, you have to be
but it might
ready
work
that
for
battle,
other people. It might work for you, that's nice. That's cool.
But it's definitely not something I do on a regular basis. It's sometimes I just know, okay. It's like these milestones when okay, you break this wall down, there's certainly going to be a different wall at a different stage, but I just need to overcome that obstacle to keep going, Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also what gets you forward in the end, right? You cannot retain your stuff forever, and sometimes you just need to get it out there and work on something until you break the wall and then, bring it to an end.
Yeah, and sometimes it's also just... letting go, like keep going, but letting go of that brick wall, like risking it. Now, if we take it back to parkour and making an analogy, having a jump where you can do it, and you like in your mind you're confident enough to do it, but then there is maybe your anxiety, you're scared, and so you have that battle, and then sometimes you really have to have faith in like in your core, you can do, and you take that leap of faith, even though you're scared of it, but you can do it. So that's what I'm referring to.
Hail Mary jump.
Yeah,
just go for it.
Yeah.
It takes courage. I mean, it's you need to make some moves and just have trust in yourself.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So you can tell everyone listening when you've got your exhibition. I mean, that's certainly something like original and unique for you as well. I mean, I can't remember you having an exposition before.
I mean, it's my first exhibition. I've been making photographs with insects, macro photography. And I've been portraying insects and plants, and then I'm changing the context sometimes. For example, I have one artwork where I have a butterfly, or it's a moth, and then I placed it in space. biggest, on a planet, and it looks enormous.
So
it just sucks out the planet.
Okay.
It's really crazy.
So you're also making some compositing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with Photoshop a lot. And then, and sometimes, I mean, you just keep changing the context of a work, and all of a sudden this regular photography that you categorize, it's just a bug or something. But then you change the background and
it's a different context.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you see, oh damn, this is actually really, really crazy. Like we share the world with interesting entities where I'm saying I try to perceive them as gods, and I want to convey that message that we should treat insects as godly entities and beings, because that's the only way how we can get the respect out for these beings that we need so desperately. But I don't want to get sidetracked. Yeah,
we can definitely come back to the topic of the exhibition and have you back on the show at some point, and you just share some of the experiences, and maybe we go in depth into your is it microscopy? No, it's not microscopy, it's just macro photography.
Yeah, it's just macro photography. Okay. And I think that we just as a society at the moment, we lost a lot of our perception for the biotic and non-biotic world around us, so we perceive nature as something where you venture out on a Sunday and then you go in the forest and say, nature is nice. but at its core, it is our identity, more or less. It is really what we are, and we have to get back to it. And I think insects are beautiful, exemplary beings for that purpose, because it helps, because they are so different from us. It's easy to love a dog because a dog has it's like dogs are like humans, more or less. Yeah. And it's easy because you can identify properly with that. But insects are such idiosyncratic and peculiar, interesting beings. It's such a different thing, and so observing them and watching them, it's highly inspiring and super interesting. So I hope, and it's important because the biodiversity crisis, we have two global crises at the moment, which is with the climate change and biodiversity loss. And they're equally problematic, and they're reinforcing one another. And it's insane, actually, that we are losing species at the moment at a rate that is 1,000 times faster than you would usually experience. And that's
crazy, yeah.
That's deeply sad.
Yeah.
And it all happens while we are living our lives, and we're cutting down forests, and we're basically destroying the swamps and the mires. And we need to bring a stop to this, but that only works if we get to teach to our children
connection.
Yeah, and at the moment you show insects to people, and people are freaked out. They're disgusted.
Yeah.
And how did we get to this point? People back in the day, or indigenous cultures, they might not love every being out there, but they are living in a sense of reciprocity and respect, and they have cultures with value systems based on gratitude and all that. And where did that go? Where did it disappear in today's world? It's just gone.
Yeah.
I mean, and biodiversity crisis is something that is going to destroy our heritage and our culture here, and the entire planet more or less is going to suffer from that. So by and large, if we're not putting a stop to it and finding our way back and finding the magic in the beings out there in nature, we're doomed. And I'm speaking from a background, I really know what I'm talking about here, and it's
deeply troubling.
Yeah.
And you're trying to
devastating
draw attention to all of that with your music also, but also obviously with the exhibition.
Yeah.
So you will be talking with the people coming to the exhibition a lot about those things, I can imagine. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying that the people are looking at the insects, and that's the first step, that they take the time to look closely, to observe, because outside nobody cares about it.
Yeah.
There's the wasp. Don't eat my stuff. It's weird.
True. All right. So I guess we slowly try to wrap it up. Is there something you still want to get out there, or like something that we've missed during the conversation?
Well, man, there's a lot to say.
Like we could definitely go into to wrap it out into your vision of the future. Like you've been talking about our global crisis that we have, so that's obviously one prediction. But maybe in a less dramatic way, what you're envisioning for yourself as an artist.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm certainly very proud of is the music that I've been producing. You will find that on Spotify. You will find it on YouTube. I made quite a lot of songs already. There's a lot more to come, and I have a beat tape that is completely ready. Which is I think one of these examples where I would say I achieved perfection, more or less, the way that, at least in my eyes, nothing that people might share that somebody else listens to and says, what is that? No, not necessarily. People wouldn't label it garbage because it's sonically pleasing, because you will find it might not be your taste, but still I think it's good quality stuff. And I'm also trying to get on stages. I mean, at the moment, I've had a lot of things going also with my studies and with some personal things in my life that have been challenging. But just recently I went on a little stage, open stage, and performed a few of my songs. And this summer there's a festival. It's a small festival, just 200 people, and I'm also have a slot on as an act.
Nice.
There, performing a few songs there.
Okay.
Or like 30 minutes or
so will you have your music ready, or will you also performing like with an instrument?
At the moment I think that I'm just gonna perform songs on the mic as an MC.
Okay.
Because that's my craft. But I could also imagine going on stage. Maybe I take the guitar, or maybe I'm taking a piano on stage at some point, and or a looping device, maybe Ableton Live even. Let's see. Yeah, my idea is to put my music out there. It will happen shortly. I've been collecting quite a bit, and I've been getting my skill levels to a point where I can work with other artists also, produce with them, for them, and make things happen. And then also trying to get on stages so people are interacting with the people. They can see me live. I think that's important. And
dope, man.
Yeah, it's gonna come out. I mean,
I can't wait. I really can't wait, man.
Stay tuned for it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm trying more exhibitions with my photographs and with my Photoshop artworks. Trying if I have all the artworks ready in frames, then I can basically contact different locations and trying to get some of the work, or maybe host another exhibition at a different location. I'm trying to foster that and give that more power and attention. And then let's see where we go from there, man. I mean, it will be exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
to it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I appreciate so much having you on the show and like having this conversation. And I can't wait to have you back here.
Will be my honor to come back.
Next time we'll have a different surprise on the table.
Okay.
And I wish you all the best with what you're working on and what you're working up towards.
Yeah.
And good luck with the exhibition. Definitely take us along, share some stuff. I'd love to have you back when the time is right and talk about aspects of Ruben. You haven't even told the people.
Yeah, I go by Magic Lupus.
Yeah.
So you can find old stuff on SoundCloud, but that is not valid anymore. So check out YouTube, check out Spotify, and
Magic Lupus.
Yeah, you will find it there.
Right.
And man, it's been a pleasure. It's been a blast. Thanks a lot for hosting me, for having me.
Always, man.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see where your podcast is going in the future. Big ups and respect that you've come that far. Production is awesome. And I'm excited to see what you're putting out in the world as well, man.
Thank you, man. Yeah. All right. So let's wrap it up. That's it for today's episode. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. And if you enjoyed the episode, obviously destroy that like button.
Eviscerate the like button.
Yeah. Subscribe to the channel and
Annihilate it.
ring the gong to join the movement. And for anything else and more content, check our socials. And if you're up for it, then join us again. And as always, we appreciate your support and we look forward to your feedback. So finally, I give my thanks again to the partner here in this conversation. It was a pleasure having you here around. And then nothing left is to say. Until the next time when we go where there is no path and leave a trail. This is the way.
This is the way.
Keep grinding, stay sharp.